Big game James, I'm back here in the building. I just dropped that Amari Cooper video. Was kind of hot about that, just kind of got in my Cowboys feelings about that. Now I'm really about to get in my Cowboys feelings about Demarcus Lawrence. This is the Demarcus Lawrence video. Obviously, both of those guys are in the news right now as far as they could both be cut or restructured or whatever. At the end of the day, I don't want either one of them cut. I'm gonna keep it real because they're integral for what Dallas needs. So I'm not advocating either one of them cut. But when we had the discussion of somebody asked me, who would you rather cut between the two? First, I said Amari Cooper because I said for if you cut D Law, the cupboard is really bare because then you must sign Randy Gregory, and he's not a great player in the run game. Chauncey Golson's is going in his second year. Terrell Basham, he's not he started at the Jets, but he's not a world beater. But he did get like 4 sacks. You don't know if you're re-signing Dorrance Armstrong Jr. You're going to have to draft or you're going to have to get somebody in free agency if you lose him. So that's why I said I don't want either one of them cut, because if you're trying to go to that apex, you need guys that have been there, guys who have been in the building, guys that people respect in the building. And I believe both of those guys get respect in the building. So let me make this clear before I say what I'm going to say about Demarcus Lawrence, that if the Cowboys want to go where they want to go, I would rather keep both of them. But if one was going to go, I changed up. And I would say you want to keep Cooper because I feel like Cooper just really opens that offense more. We saw that offense struggle when you just had a CeeDee Lamb, or if you had a Michael Gallup and Cedric Wilson, Dalton Schultz, it would be a good offense. But Amari Cooper just brings a whole different element. That offense becomes really explosive because of what Amari Cooper can do. He can do so many things, especially when he's in one-on-one coverage. You can hit him early. You can hit him on quick, short passes. He will just really start changing the game once he starts getting the ball. We saw it. Once Cooper gets the ball, that offense really starts humming. It really does. When CeeDee caught his great passes, you would get excited. But once Amari Cooper got that ball, do we forget when he came over in 2018 when he was killing them Eagles? Man, he was having that legendary game he had with the Green Bay Packers. He was killing them dudes. Like, that was legendary. And that was on Jair Alexander, who was one of the best cornerbacks in the game. He toasted him. And that's what he does to a lot of them. CeeDee Lamb, I didn't see him toasting some of the top guys out there, but Amari Cooper would toast them. So that's why I said that. Now, this thing about Demarcus Lawrence. People say you're crazy if you say something about D-Law. Man, you crazy. You don't watch the game of football. You don't know nothing about it. All you talking about is sacks. The game is more than sacks. You know what I mean? Pressures. He's great in the run game. You know what I mean? And that's true. He is good in the run game. You know what I'm saying? And the stats say he is. Stats say 58 tackles in 2020, 45 in 2019, 64 in 2018, 58. He is great in the run game. But he also injury prone. He's been injury prone ever since he came in the league. First year, remember with the broke foot, played in 7 games, started none, had the 2 big sacks, and I believe the playoffs. 2015, 16 games, 13 games started, had 8 sacks, but that was at the end of the year. His first 8 games, he was sackless. And then he got the 8 sacks, turned up. 55 tackles, turned up. 2016, back injury, 9 games, 3 started. I think, he did have the suspension in between that time, 1 sack. So before when his contract year came up, which was 2017, his contract, and they drafted Taco Charlton, because what they were thinking was the Cowboys were thinking, if this dude doesn't do it now, we draft Taco Charlton, we get rid of him, and then Charlton slides right into his role, and then we're on a rookie contract. That's what they were really thinking. That's why they drafted Charlton, thinking that Charlton could be the guy. We saw it wasn't. So maybe D-Law used that as motivation, but he wanted to get that bread too. 16 games played. He hadn't started a 16-game season all up until that contract year. 16 games played, 16 games started. Forced fumble, 4. 2 forced fumble recoveries, 14 and a half sacks. We saw he was turning up. 58 tackles. We saw how he was turning up. 26 QB hits. You feel me? 14 tackles for loss. Defensive Player of the Year, had all kind of awards. Went nutty. You feel me? Contract year. Next year came back there like, we ain't seen it this whole time, so we need to see it again one more year. So, okay, comes back the next year. Boom, 16 games, 15 games started. Had a couple pass defense, forced fumbles, 2, 10.5 sacks, 64 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 23 QB hits, 2 back-to-back seasons. And Stephen Jones said, you ain't as good as Khalil Mack. He said that. That's documented. He said, you ain't good as him. So I don't really want to pay you that money because you ain't that good. But D-Law came back with 25 sacks in 2 seasons. So we thinking, okay, I was calling him a bust. I said, I need to see 9 sacks in 3 years. I need to see. And you already was injury prone and you was getting in trouble. So after he gets the money, I ain't saying nothing. But after you got the deal, 16 games started. The next year, 15 games started, played 16 games. So you proved yourself healthy, but 5 sacks right after you got the big money, 5 sacks. Then 2020, 6.5 sacks. But it's all about the pressures. 58 tackles, 45. But everybody's like, man, you can't count on sacks. But guess what? That's what they paid him for. You get what I'm saying? That's what they paid Demarcus Lawrence for. They didn't pay him for pressures. They didn't pay him the big money. They didn't pay Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, Joey Bosa, TJ Watt, and he just had 22 sacks. And I know he didn't do everything else in the other parts of the game. That's why I don't just look at the sacks with TJ Watt, but they're game changers. They are. You can get pressures, and pressures are huge. We seen Michael Parsons. We seen when you can pressure the quarterback, it's huge. But if you don't get the sack and you pressure him and he evades that pressure and completes a long pass, that pressure didn't mean anything. But if you pressured him and got the sack with it, especially if it was a big game-changing sack, we just saw Aaron Donald. I don't care if you said he was offsides. He made a game-changing sack at the end of the game. Jamar Chase was open. Jalen Ramsey fell. If he had the time to throw it, that was a touchdown. It was probably game over. Cincinnati Bengals right into the sunset. But who made the game-changing pressure or who made the game-changing sack? You feel me? When you getting them sacks, dog, it changed the game. They pay for sacks. They don't pay for pressures. Now, if you have an all-around game like D-Law has, he's great in the run game. He is. He holds down that left side, and he goes hella hard. But he's always a step late, or he's always a tick behind like Tyron Crawford. Tyron Crawford would get in that backfield. That's why they paid him that money, but he would always miss. He'd be a step late. And that's all I'm saying about D-Law. So I feel like if they were going to cut anybody and you had the cut between the two, you can get mad at me if you want to, but I switched up and changed. You have to go hard. You can get somebody in free agency. Okay? You can get somebody in free agency and you draft. You know what I mean? Because guess what? When Demarcus Lawrence got hurt in that Tampa Bay game and he broke his foot, that defense did not fall off. They moved Michael Parsons to that defensive end, and that defense turned all the way up. All them people came back, and that defense turned up. The defense did not fall off. It got better when Demarcus Lawrence got back because he's a very good player. He's not great in my opinion, but he's a very good player. But that defense turned up. It was getting turnovers. It was getting sacks. It was getting pressures. It was still creating mayhem in that backfield. They were still winning games. You feel me? Everybody was waiting for Demarcus Lawrence to come back because we're like, that's going to be the added kind of cherry on the top. But the defense didn't fall off because Demarcus Lawrence was gone. The defense turned up because now you put Michael Parsons with that hand in the ground, and we saw how he could rush the passer. You get another draft, and if you got somebody in free agency, if you lost Demarcus Lawrence, that's not going to cost that much. You can make it work, and the defense will still be good. Yes, it will. Because when Michael Parsons did not play, and it was the Philly game, and he was out, that the defense looked regular. It didn't look like it was before. And that's when you had the guy Demarcus Lawrence in there. And I ain't dissing, but the proof was in the pudding. Dallas defense is good with D-Law, but it's better with Michael Parsons. And Michael Parsons is that game changer on the defense that makes that defense go. And he makes Demarcus Lawrence better. Demarcus Lawrence don't make Michael Parsons better. Michael Parsons make Demarcus Lawrence better. It don't matter if Demarcus Lawrence been in the league since 2014 and Michael Parsons been there less. Michael Parsons is just a game-changing player, and he can do so many more things. You can stand him up, you can sit him down, you can move him in coverage. He can do things D-Law can't. And that's why he's more of a game changer than D-Law. And when you took that element of Michael Parsons out the game, the defense became regular. Because we've seen when Demarcus Lawrence has opportunities to take over games, he hasn't done it. And I've seen him get sacks on regular offensive tackles. Go back and look at the tape. He hasn't killed elite offensive tackles. I saw that Tampa Bay game where they tried to say he was going to Tristan Wirfs. Did he get a sack that game? I can't remember. Let me know. That's all I got to say. Not hating on you, D-Law. You can say I am, but I'm just keeping it real, dog. So if I had a choice and they said get rid of one of the players, I'm gonna go ahead and say D-Law, and you get a guy in free agency. Dante Fowler's out there. He ain't trash. And then you can get another. He has familiarity with Dan Quinn. You can scoop him up and you can draft. You can get a guy early within 3 rounds, and you still got guys that are developing, and you can still put Michael Parsons' hand in the ground, especially if you draft a couple linebackers in the draft. You can make it work when you really think about it, and the defense will still cook. It will, because it showed it could when he was hurt. The defense didn't start being the worst defense in the league when D-Law got hurt. It started climbing. Let's keep it real. Go through, look at the stats. It was climbing. It wasn't falling off. So Demarcus Lawrence, like I'm going to say, is a very good player. He ain't great. And if he went somewhere else, he probably would turn up. But if he was a feature player, I still don't think if he would turn up. If he was a feature player in a defense, no, I don't think he would turn up. But if he had other good players around him, then I think he would do really good. So he's not that elite guy. He's a really, really good player. But an elite guy gets you sacks, stops in the run game. That's what he does all the way around. That's what the elite guys do. And that's just what it is in my opinion. All right. So Big Game James, I'm out. Check out this video. Peace.